So what's up people, and welcome back to Pamela. So recently NVYVE brought out their newest update titled the Geist update, and this is a relatively significant update. Not only was there new areas to explore, but there were also new factions of enemies to fight. And so with this update, the gameplay changed quite a bit. It became a little bit more rock, paper, scissors sort of fighting style. Some of the weapons that worked in certain enemies no longer worked for other enemies, and so you didn't have a, one weapon can kill everything sort of situation now. And so what I wanted to do was create a new starter's guide so that it would actually incorporate some of the changes in the Geist update. Now this is a starter's guide, so for veteran players this isn't going to do anything. But I figured that this game is not the easiest game to start as a new player, and so I thought I would actually create an updated version of the starter's guide that I made in the past. So just like with the other starters guides, I will start right from the beginning with things like quick keys and how to use the various equipment that you get right at the beginning of the game to, go through the gameplay properly. We'll go get to the enemies later, but in the beginning I just want to start out with your equipment. So as you can see here, this is your AARM. This is basically your control system. Throughout the game, you have a lot of things that you can see here, including your health, the energy you have in your weapons and equipment, your hunger or your hunger level, your thirst level, where you are, what time of day it is, how much genome points you have. All of this is displayed right in the front, so it's good to actually get to know your AARM. Now aside from that, you can see that there are all these menus, and the first menu you have is the Pamela power. And the Pamela powers are these special powers that you get as you level up in the game. Now you can see that I put 4 of them equipped here, including invisibility, the ability to create barriers. I think this one was efficiency, and the last one I can't remember, so let me just take a look at it. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so this is something to enhance your weapon damage. Okay, so as you can see, depending upon which one you choose, you could actually improve or have additional capabilities besides your weapons and your augments. Now you start out with the original ones, which is this one here, which gives out a blast of force. So if you trigger your Pamela power, it will actually send out a blast of force, to the neighboring area, and it'll knock down any of the enemies around you. This one is a defensive one. Well, actually it's a utility one. It creates a little floating light bulb, and you could actually, light up certain areas that may be really dark in the game. And so you could get to know all of these Pamela powers. And as you collect what you call CPUs in the game, you could use them to equip your Pamela powers. Open up and equip your Pamela powers, and you equip them by dragging and dropping them here. And your first power at the very top is the one that you could actually trigger just by pressing Q. So this is the one power that you can get out of a quick key. So you should put your favorite Pamela power up here, and then all the other ones you actually have to press Q for a long time, and then it opens up a menu, and then you could choose from the menu. Now some of these are passive, and so you don't really have to activate them, but for the active ones, the very important one, the one that you really want to use, you should put at the top. Oops, this is not what I wanted to show. And the next one is the inventory, and this is probably the most important menu item. You can see that I'm carrying a lot of stuff. In the beginning, you only get the central area of space, and so you could carry a lot of things. You see I have food, I have drinks, and I have my medi-hypos out here. So just whatever you pick up will kind of fall into here. Now you notice that I'm also carrying this container. I found this, but you could actually make this as well. And this turns out to be pretty nice because it gives you additional space, as you can see here. So you could carry a lot more items and then use that to carry the container. And so the container is a lot smaller than the items that you actually can carry inside the container. And so that turns out to be pretty good. The only problem is that you can't activate anything inside the container. So for things like the MediHypo, you don't want to put that inside the container because you may need to get at it right away. So yeah, I mean, pick and choose what you have. And as you keep on playing the game, you'll notice that you can increase the inventory space. And there's a lot of things that you can get out of that. So this turns out to be one of the more important areas of your inventory menu. Now, aside from that, it shows also your armor, as you can see here. And these, you have basically the leg armor, the torso armor, and the helmet. And aside from that, you have these little color modules that you could start collecting, and they'll change the color combination of your armor. It's not a big thing, but it's kind of interesting. You also have your shield area, and there are 3 different types of shields that you can get. Either the repercussion shield, as you can see here, the ceaseless shield, as well as the vanishing shield. And each one has its usefulness. I really like the repercussion shield because it basically strikes back at anything that attacks you. So when they hit your shield, it actually sends a knockback, and they get damaged when they hit the shield. So this turns out to be quite useful. You could sometimes see a zombie die hitting you on the shield. Aside from that, there is a ceaseless shield. And as the name implies, that's the one that actually will hold its charge the longest. So as the zombies keep on hitting the shield, they get weaker and weaker. Eventually, they stop working until you actually recharge them again, which means that you have to turn the shield off, for a short period of time. Now, the ceaseless shield isn't completely ceaseless, but it does have the shortest recharge time. And so you could continuously recharge it by, kind of running away while the shield is recharging. And then once it's fully charged again, you could use the shield. And so the ceaseless shield turns out to be pretty good. The vanishing shield I've never really used, but as the name implies, as the charge goes down and goes to 0, it actually will make you invisible for a short period of time. So that sounds actually pretty good. If you really want to have a last-minute defense of being able to get away, then the vanishing shield is probably pretty good. Now, aside from that, you have these gadgets, which I call sigils. And these give you additional capabilities. The one I have is an agility amplifier, which basically makes you faster. And I really like the agility amplifier. You move quicker in the game. And although the zombies have become faster so that they can stay up with you, at least they won't catch you that easily if you have the agility amplifier on. So I really, really like this. But aside from that, there are other gadgets like a stealth one, ones that will open locks easier, ones that will give you better deals in the things that you purchase from the vending machine. So yeah, you can pick and choose which one you want. Take a look at all of them, but yeah, if you really like to avoid the bad guys, then I would suggest the agility amplifier. I really like it. Yeah, so anyway, aside from the gadgets, this section, which I'm not using because I actually like the default light. You get a flashlight, which you activate by pressing F. But the thing is there are different light optical combinations that you can get. So depending upon what lens that you add on here, you could get things that are more brighter but narrower in beam, or wider in beam but dimmer in scope. So you could choose which one you want. I just like the default. Now this side is where you have all your weapons and you have your utilities. So you have 2 utilities, you have 2 weapons, and 1 energy utility. And the weapons are separated into dorsal and fore. And there are specific weapons that only work in dorsal and specific weapons that only work in fore. So you could have a combination of 2 of these. I used to, in my old starter's guide, choose the arc welder as the dorsal weapon of choice. But now, I'm using this surgical laser. And the reason for that is, not like I said, it's become rock, paper, scissors, and there are certain beasts or enemies that actually are completely immune to the arc welder. And so the surgical laser turns out to be pretty good. I have some of the other weapons which I'll show you in a minute, but I tend to have like this because some of the new beasts are susceptible to heat, which the surgical laser does. Now, as you can see here, like I mentioned, I do have the arc welder, and this turns out to be good for whenever you have these really nasty robots coming after you. And there's a certain time of day that these nasty robots appear and come after you, and I use my arc welder for that. As you can see, I have an extra vanishing shield in case I lose my shield that I am equipping, and then I just want to have a backup shield. Now, aside from that, I do have a subversor. Now, in the 4 weapons, most of them are melee, but I tend to like range, and so I use a subversor. Aside from that, there's a passive utility and there are active utilities. And for the passive, I tend to use an overclocking system. And that turns out to be pretty good because it actually will increase damage in any of the weapons that you equip. This kinetic amplifier, I don't particularly use it all that much, but I don't have any other thing that I want to put on there, so I use this. It's supposed to increase the speed of your projectiles and your weapons, and yeah, maybe it's good. I'm not really sure. There is another one called the sonar, which if you like defenses type of utilities, that tends to be good. If you activate the sonar, it'll show all the enemies that are nearby. So if you like that, then that turns out to be pretty good. Now, as far as the energy utility, I use a cyano reprocessor. This is basically something that will recharge your batteries as you're not using your weapons. Your weapons basically run on batteries, and when your battery runs out, your weapon's kind of useless. So of course you could get more batteries and recharge them, but the cyano reprocessor is nice because it automatically recharges your weapon slowly, but whenever you're not using it, you'll notice that it'll go back, your weapons will go back to 100% charge. Now, there are other utilities you can use. One that will make your weapons more efficient in energy usage. Another one that will actually hold a lot of energy. And so if you have a lot of batteries, you could put that on and then put a ton of energy into it. So yeah, pick and choose which one you want. Now, aside from that, you see that there's a description of each one of these items, and there's also an upgrade map. And so as you keep on going, you can upgrade these things and they become a lot more effective as you upgrade. So I would suggest for any player, once you make these weapons and items, start upgrading them as quick as possible. If you ever see these upgrade kits, always get them. Now, the amount of upgrade kits that you have are shown here. You see the blue ones, the red ones, and the yellow ones. They are for the low, medium, and high level upgrades. And you see that there are corresponding colors over here. So you start out with the blues, and then you go to the reds or the pinks, and then you finally end up with the yellows. So you have to get these upgrade kits to be able to upgrade your weapons, and you'll notice them lying around as well as being sold in a vending machine. Yeah, I would suggest to get as many as possible because upgrading it will become a lot easier and staying alive, of course. But the other side, of course, is that the stronger the weapon, the easier to farm zombies. Once you farm zombies, you could get more items, which in turn will get you more upgrade kits. So it's a cycle, right? I mean, it may be an investment in the beginning, but it'll pay off significantly if you upgrade these things so that it makes farming zombies a lot easier. Okay, so that's the weapon and utility and energy side. You can make them, you can find them. If you find any of them, no matter which weapon, which utility, keep on using it and get used to it. And then eventually you'll know which ones you like. Now, the other side of the menu is this crafting menu. And this is the menu you use to make things. So as you can see, for example, you have the repair kits, you have your base energizing things like the power transmitter and the ion cell, and then you have things like your barriers that will protect you when you're in a base, and all these things. And so you have all these things. These things require additional equipment to be able to activate and access the equipment. But you can see even weapons are here, even your gadgets are here. So eventually, if you have a ton of material, and if you have your equipment to be able to craft things, then that turns out to be quite good. And as you can see in the left, it shows you what sort of crafting equipment you need. So if I click on this, you see that this one needs equipment bench. And basically what that means is, since the equipment bench is the highest level crafting item, you also need crafting station Mark II and crafting station Mark I. So whenever it says it needs something, it always will tell you the highest level thing, and it will require also the levels below it. So yeah, I mean, it's always good to eventually make these, and you need Mark I to make Mark II. You need Mark I and Mark II to make the equipment bench. So yeah, as you get more material and a base, then you could use that base to set up your equipment station and use that to start making gadgets if you haven't found those, well, not gadgets, but items, if you haven't found the items that you wanted to, use, whether they're weapons, whether they're armor, whatever. So yeah, start getting used to them. You have your resource map here. As you acquire items, it'll tell you how many items you've acquired, and then you could compare it with the things that you need to make an item and see what you need to get. So yeah, there's a ton of things. There's containers, as you can see here. There's things that will help you defend your base. And so all these things are quite useful. Now up here, these are the items that you could upgrade. And as you can see, my helmet can be upgraded, but I'm missing 2 items. The nanite containers, as well as the defense modules. I don't have enough of them, and I have 0 nanite containers. This is actually not true. I actually do have the nanite containers. They're just in my storage container, and so they don't show up here. But yeah, it'll tell you what you need. Now down here, it'll say the status of all the items that you have that are equipable, and you'll notice that they go all the way up to 100%. And as you keep on wearing them down, they'll go down in percentage. And when they get low, you have to repair them, and you have this repair kit here. And so you make the repair kit, you use the repair kit to repair 1 item, and you keep on going. So yeah, I mean, the inventory and the upgrade capabilities are quite useful. So I would get used to being able to move around in there. Now the status is something I don't typically use, because eventually you'll really know when you're hurting, and you don't have to look into the status area. But in the beginning, if you really wanted to know how you were doing, you could look at your status. Now, more importantly, this menu actually will show you your augments as well. And these are things that you can actually load up, and they will give you additional power. So as you can see, I have 2 of them loaded up, photosynthetic and slender frame. Yeah, and so one will actually be good for defense, and the other is good for speed. Now aside from that, you have this little map. This map used to be terrible when the game started, but now it's very useful. And the reason for that is you actually have a fairly large span to be able to see in. Right in the middle is you. You see that little dot that doesn't move around in the middle? That's you. That little red dot is you. And then everything else, like that C that you see with the circle, that's the cyano. No, that's not the cyanotube. That's the cryobay, which is right standing, which is this thing right in front of me. And so, yeah, the map will show you certain items like the cryobay, the power breakers, the power stations, the recycle station. So eventually, once you know what all these things are, you can use your map in an unknown area and try to look for specific things. They're especially useful for looking for power cyanotube, broken wall outlets that you need to fix. A lot of times you don't know where they are, but if you open up the map, they are labeled as cyanotubes. You see that triangle with the 3 lightning bolts? Yeah, that will show you where they are. And as you fix the wall, broken wall outlets, those triangles will disappear. So yeah, the map is really nice. I find the map really useful now. I know a lot of people have complained about it, but I really find the map useful now. Now the data pad gives you a lot of reference information. So it tells you all the things that you've recently done. It gives you a little background information on all these items, like the monsters and the robots and stuff like that. But the important one is these echoes. And so in the game, you'll notice that Pamela will give you little messages. So as you collect them, you could start playing them here.
An engineer
like
once asked me if I could be born as a human, would I want to? I never answered at the time. There were many more important things that required my attention. Now, having seen what being human brings, I wonder if it should have been the other way around.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really dwell upon this too much in the beginning, but as you keep on playing the game and open a lot of echoes, it's really nice to be able to listen to them all at once because you really do get some interesting things with regards to the story. I guess that's the statistics, and you do have a tutorial. It's okay. It'll give you the basics, and sometimes it might be useful. But overall, I find that learning through osmosis, doing a bunch of stuff will help out. Now moving on to the quick keys, there are a lot of them that you can use that are useful. Pressing I will open up the inventory. Pressing I again will close it. Pressing O will open up the the workstation. And Tab will open up your AARM. And each one of these will close. Now this, if you press R, you get this little gadget. And this is kind of useful. It's really useful for fixing things. You have to aim and then point and click, and then it'll fix things for you. But aside from that, you can access things with it, but overall, it's not that great equipment. What it's really useful for is if you press R for a really long time, as you can see, it'll scan things. Or it'll scan the room, and then you could find things like you see that key over there? Yeah, that's something that you can pick up, and by scanning the room, it'll identify containers. It'll identify things that you can pick up. Now, what is this? Oh, look at that! It's an industrial storage upgrade. I didn't even know that this was here, so it's a good thing I did my tutorial, so I could actually open up space in my inventory. Now, one of the most useful ones is your E button. You use it to open and close doors. You use it to activate certain things, like open containers. So if I, for example, I'll put this container here, press E, it'll open it up. Press E, it'll close it again. And you could use it to, activate certain buttons. You could use it to open containers that are lying around. And so E turns out to be a really useful button to know. Now, aside from that, there are buttons such as 4. 4 is actually one of the most important buttons to have. You hardly ever use it, or hopefully you don't have to use it. But if you need it, it's really useful, and that's your automatic use of a medi-hypo. So every once in a while, you get into a situation where the zombies are attacking you and you really can't open up your inventory and activate a medi-hypo. If you press 4, it'll automatically activate the medi-hypo for you and prevent you from dying. So that turns out to be useful. The only thing is you do have to have it in your inventory. You can't have it in a storage container. Now, aside from that, your shift button turns out to be pretty good. Every once in a while, there's something that just won't close. And sometimes you could get it to close into your shift button. Not always, and so it's not a guarantee, but every once in a while, if you can't close it with any other button, try pressing shift and it will close the button for you. Now, aside from that, your center mouse button turns out to be really useful. So whenever you're moving things around, sometimes you want to reorient it. And if you scroll or roll your mouse wheel, center mouse wheel, you could actually change the orientation of your items. And then you could just put them here like this, or, put it back. So yeah, in the beginning, I had a really hard time arranging things because I didn't know about this, but it turns out to be really useful. Let me open. Yeah, so if you kind of use this equipment, one of these storage expanders, you could see that it expanded one slot in the storage. So that turns out to be quite useful. Now the other thing that's useful with the mouse wheel is whenever you want to whenever you want to transfer items from your inventory to your storage container, instead of dragging and dropping as you see here, the quick way to do it is to just press your mouse button, and then it'll automatically transfer things. And then, you could do it backwards as well. So, if you're in the middle of a scary area, you don't want to spend a lot of time dragging and dropping, so the mouse button turns out to be really good. So those are the basic quick keys that you can use. Of course, your F again is your flashlight, and you could turn it on and off with that. And overall, you just get used to all the keys and the menu items, and that will make things a lot easier in being able to move around here. Now, the first thing you have to do in this game is to start gathering material. If you're a new starting player, then you don't have anything, and so you want to gather as much things as possible. So use your scanning tool to find which containers are available. Now you see here, no, usually containers don't contain this many items, but what I'm doing is I put all my equipment here because I've used this cryocore, and whenever I die, I will respawn here. I want equipment to be able to access right away. Now you have all this containers, and usually they're full of stuff. I've just already emptied them out, but run around, use your scanner. As you can see, it highlights certain containers, and it'll also highlight items that are dropped on the ground. Just pick up as many things as possible. See, so you can see like that chocolate bar or this container here. It's empty, but as you can see, it highlights whenever you scan. And so yeah, just go through quickly as fast as possible. Just gather everything you possibly can. And if you get a weapon, that's great. If you get armor, that's great. But even even if you don't, and just keep gathering food, whatever you find. Just keep on gathering items. You could later on gawk and enjoy the surroundings. And here, you don't have to worry about any zombies. No zombies ever spawn in this area. So don't worry about, having to sneak around and worry if there's going to be a zombie around in the corner. Here, it's actually pretty decent to just quickly go around and gather everything. Yeah. If you see locked containers, don't open them unless you're absolutely certain you can open them, because if you trip an alarm, all these robots will start coming after you, and they're pretty strong, so you don't want to do that. Also, you want those robots to be your friend. I'll talk about it a little bit later on. But yeah, so unless you're absolutely confident in being able to open locked items, I would suggest you don't, not in the beginning anyway. Because what you'll find is that even though the locked items have certain nice things, they're not particularly unique items. Yeah, let me just replenish myself. There we go. And so you could get them from other items. Just opening as many containers as possible is more important than spending a ton of time trying to unlock one container. Now these are your Pamela echoes. So let me play one. And so whenever you see one, just click it. And you don't have to sit here and listen to it. If you want to, I guess you can. But the important thing is to click on as many of them as possible. And then later on, when you have the time, you can sit back. Now you'll see things like this where you actually can find stories. Don't read them, not right now. You don't have time for that. You want to gather as much things as possible. Now, as far as the vending machines is concerned, I would suggest not to buy anything right at the moment until you understand what are the important things and what are not. And just keep on looking. It's more important and it's better to just keep on looking for items You know, if you keep on running around here, you'll see a lot of containers. You know, some of them will carry credits, some of them will carry medical equipment like this. You know, and then some of them will carry miscellaneous items, some will carry weapons. And so just keep on finding as many containers as possible and opening it. Even in this early area where there's no zombies, there's a ton of containers. And immediately you'll be able to gather things like food and credits. And that will help you out a lot. So instead of, you know, sneaking around, trying to look at your surroundings, you know, just run around and, yeah, gather as many credits as possible. It's really not hard to, it's actually not easy to get lost in this area. So, yeah, don't worry about it. Now, eventually you'll come out in this hallway. And then this will eventually take you to the main area of the map. But there's a lot of containers here too, so keep on gathering as much stuff as possible. And here is where you often find your first zombie. Oh, there's none here. Okay, so typically be careful when you get to this area. You see that barrier over there? You often find one zombie here, and then you'll have to fight it. And if you do, then you get to this graded area. Eventually, you'll go out there. You'll find this recycling thing. And if you eventually find things that you don't need, you could recycle it for credits, I'll show you with this avocado. Anyway, let's keep on going. We're trying to rush through as I would be doing if I was starting the game. And just gather a ton of stuff. Now, if you get to this area, the hallway continues. Oh, there's a zombie. So let's start. Okay, so get one zombie's attention. Be careful not to get too close or you might get more than one zombie coming after you. And then you do this bob and weave. What you'll notice is like this. Those telegraph their punch. And so if you move back when they start telegraphing their punch, you have to wait until they start punching. But then you move back and then you come forward and you punch. Uh-oh. There's another zombie behind me. Whoa! I was too busy looking at the other zombie. Okay. But anyway, yeah. Pull back. Come back. Hit. And the recent Geist update is really good. Let me just kind of hide out over here. The recent Geist update is really good because your punches come out a lot faster than in the older one. Uh-oh. Yeah, you try to avoid getting two of them to come out. But if you do, then keep on working on this. Don't do a slugfest. Whatever you do, it'll take time. Oh, this is good. Yes, every once in a while the zombies will start fighting each other. And then you could, grab your imaginary popcorn, sit down, and just watch. And they'll do the work for you. It takes a little bit of time. But as you can see, he killed your zombie for you. And then, of course, he does the same thing, so you bob and weave. In the beginning, in Arc Medical, so long as you stay in Arc Medical, you won't get too many high-level zombies. And so you could do this bob and weave, and I would suggest to do this bob and weave. It takes a little bit of time, but it sure beats losing your hit points quickly. And then, of course, you could gather all the stuff that they're carrying. Oh, I got a shield. See? Just by killing zombies, it can be quite useful. But again, don't go into a slugfest. Draw them out one at a time, and then here's another one. Do your bob and weave. You see two of them, and you try to hopefully just get one of them to come after you. Yeah, okay. Once they start yelling and gesturing at you, then that means that they see you, and then you could kind of draw them out. And then you do your bob and weave again. So let me do this again. Oh, sorry, I pressed Q accidentally. Yeah, this is what happens when you become invisible, and then you could just beat them up. And typically, whoa, she actually punched me. Oh well, yeah, typically they won't punch you if you're invisible, so that turns out to be quite useful. But in the beginning, you won't have your Pamela powers, so don't rely on that. Just do your bobbing and weaving, and it'll be okay. I mean, you'll find medi-hypos in that beginning area, so if you start getting low on hit points, then use your medi-hypo, but try to avoid any slugfest. Now, let me show you what a weapon looks like. Here's my surgical laser. And, I'm hitting the wall. Whoa, he jumped away. Yeah, the thing about the surgical lasers, they feel it. So, let me get close. Okay. The nice thing about the surgical laser is it gives a beam out, so you could use it like a lightsaber, kind of. You know, you don't have to hit them or aim. You could just steer the beam in that direction. Now, you see this garrison container. Sometimes they carry nice things like a weapon or armor. And so open up the garrison container if you can. If it's locked and if it's anything harder than an easy, I might avoid it in the beginning. But if it's easy, then maybe it's worth opening that particular container. Now, once you come out here, you'll come out here. This is the main area of Arc Medical. Immediately go over here. And what you'll find is this little area right here. And as you can see, I made a base into it. This is my usual typical first base that I make. And the reason why I make it is, as you can see, the button is locked. And you could actually unlock it if you wanted to, but I don't. And the reason for that is if it's locked, the zombies can't get at you, the robots can't get at you. And so, yeah, if you unlock it, then the zombies can actually open the doors. And it'll automatically open when they walk nearby, and then they'll run in and come after you. But if you keep it locked, then they can't. And then you just jump through the window as you do here. You just jump on those cots outside. As you can see, I have my crafting stations here. I've made my my power thing here that I could turn on like this. And then it powers up all of your crafting stations. And yeah, and then I have my little light that I just found. Yeah, this water condenser, don't make it. You'll often find one. I didn't make this, I just found it. You'll just find more than enough drinks, so it's a waste of resource, especially in the beginning, to make a water condenser. Eventually, if you find one, yeah, you can move it into here. The most important things are these crafting stations. Now, the other thing, the most important thing to make out of all the utility items is this cot. This portabed, as it's called. And the reason for that is twofold. One is that you could rest, and you put in a few hours of rest, and it will use up your food, and you get more thirsty, but you reduce or you regain your stamina and your health. So the cot is really good because it will avoid you having to use your medihypo to heal yourself. You just run in here, you sleep for a little while, and you get your health back. At least quite a bit of your health back. So this turns out to be really useful. Now the other thing is that it'll accelerate the time. Now there's a certain time of the night when these really nasty robots will come out and try to kill you, which is 8:30 in the evening, and you'll hear this weird alarm go off. Well, if you're in here before 8:30 in the evening, and if you sleep until 6 in the morning the next day, then you could actually bypass those robots coming out to attack you. And they're seriously nasty robots. So the cot turns out to be really useful. You could carry one around, but I usually just leave them in the base. And then I just go in there and sleep, and it regains my health. So that turns out to be very useful. So make a cot right away if you can. Gather a lot of equipment and make resources and make a cot. Now this is the power switch, and they're all over the place, but here's one of them, and it lets you change the power levels of your building. The higher the power level, the more lights that it turns on, but the more it uses power. The lower the power level, like in 0, it doesn't use any power, but it becomes really dark. It'll become darker than what you see here. It'll gradually get darker, but it will become really dark. And so try to keep it on the mid power, what they call the emergency power, or eventually you could take it to high power. But to do that, you have to be able to increase the efficiency of the building, which I will talk about a little bit later. But anyway, you could use this to change the power levels. And for the moment, in the beginning, I would just leave it at emergency. For Arc Medical, it's not that dark, so you can keep it at emergency levels. I keep it at high because I've increased the efficiency of this building. And so that's another thing that you eventually want to do, is to increase the efficiency of the building. Now let me, yeah, lady. Yeah, as you can see, I'm moving relatively quickly, and that's because I use the speed sigil. Now, as you can see, here's another area that looks like that one that we saw downstairs, but it's not locked, so you can't really use this one as a base. But it's really important to know because this is where your power transfer station is. So if you want to know where your power transfer, how to transfer power into Arc-Medical, you know, just replay this video again and see how I came up to the second floor. Now you can see that Promenade District, it's 100% Arc-Medical because I just transferred. It's 100%. Arcadia is 0 because I haven't really gone there to transfer power. And here you see that my efficiency is at 80%. You could take it all the way up to 100, and if you take it up to 100, you won't lose power at all. And you could, oh, hello lady. I really don't have time for you, so let me do this. Yeah, see, the surgical laser is pretty nice. I used to not use it at all and find that it was kind of a blah sort of weapon, but it's nice now. And it really works well on the Geist beasts, and so I use them to kill Geist beasts, which hopefully I could show you later. Now to let me keep on going. Yeah, this is the other area that a lot of people use as a base. I don't use this as my first base because you need to build a lot of stuff in here to make it really useful. Because zombies do spawn in here, so you do have to create these defense turrets so that if a zombie spawns, these defense turrets will kill it. And that requires building a lot of stuff. So in the beginning, I don't use this as a base, but eventually this turns out to be really nice because it's really roomy, as you can see. And yeah, you have to build a lot of things here, and you have a recycle station inside and a vending machine. And I just you know, use this barrier to prevent any zombies outside from coming in. They really don't jump over the counter, but if every once in a while they may spawn out here, and then you may want to just keep them out here. Hello lady. So anyway, in the beginning, now we're going outside of Arc-Medical, but in the beginning I would spend all my time in Arc-Medical and make sure that I've opened every container and stuff like that in there. And once you get your armor and once you get your weapons and you feel comfortable in your shield, then you can come out here. But be careful. Once you come out here, this area, the zombies will become a lot more difficult. And this is our Arcadia. It's dark because this is what it looks like when you have no power. So it gets this dark. So yeah, you want to make sure that you transfer power. I'm just since I'm using my speed gadget, I could kind of bypass them. And so as you can see, the speed gadget turns out to be really good. You could just zip right through. Now this is the promenade, and you could go back and watch the videos to how to get to the promenade. The important reason why I bring you to the promenade is this. This is the Genesis station, and this turns out to be a really nice place for the promenade. Not only is it really useful. Oh, hello, lady. Oh, yeah, you have this recycle station here. But the nice thing is you have this second floor, and I usually make a base up here. I put a barrier here, and then I make a base up here. It's really roomy. And the nice thing about this place is if you put the promenade to full power after you've fixed all the wall outlets, then you could actually use your solar chargers inside the building, and it will charge all those ion cells for you. So as you can see, I have this ion cell that's powering everything. I have 2 of them. So when one starts going down in power, then I basically just turn on the new one, and I recharge the old ion cell. So let me show you. Let me just, although it doesn't need recharging, let me show you what I do. I go here, and then I put it into the solar charger. As you can see, it immediately starts charging up. So yeah, this is a really nice area to create a base because it's nice and bright. It's very roomy. It has a lot of utilities. It's right near the entrance of the promenade, and as long as you keep a barrier here, usually zombies don't come up here, so this turns out to be pretty nice. Now the other nice reason for it being here is that you have all your augment stations here. So you remember those augments that I talked to you about? These enhance the capabilities of your yourself. And the first augment I always get is this one, photosynthetic. This is really nice. If you can find the key for photosynthetic, immediately get this. It will cost you somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 credits to get, put this on. But if you get this key and can activate it, then get photosynthetic. What it does is it will restore your hit points for you automatically if you're in a bright area. And so once you get photosynthetic, then you could basically sleep in that cot during the evenings, and during the mornings you could run outside, and you're almost indestructible outside because you're in a bright area. It never rains in Eden 54, and so there we go. Yeah, the subversor is nice, eh? Yeah, I've maxed out my subversor, so let me show you again. 1, 2, 3, and then just yeah, there she goes. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I like the subversors. A lot of people poo-poo the subversor, but I really like the subversor. Anyway, but yeah, the photosynthetic is really good because you could run around outside in the middle of the day. You could get hit 5 or 6 times. Oh, here's a Geist beast. Okay, so this is a Geist beast. This is the new guys here, and the reason why I stopped using the arc welder is because of these guys. They are immune to your arc welder. Actually, they get more powerful if you keep on using your arc welder. It heals them rather than hurts them. And so, but they're susceptible to heat, and that's why now I use these surgical lasers. So I could just, do it like this. Eventually, they go down. So yeah, it's mostly because of these guys that. Oh, I got another shield. That's great. Yeah, the beasts drop a lot more stuff now ever since the Geist update. And I think this is really good. So, yeah, bob and weave, kill those zombies, and grab anything that you could get out of them. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize it's 8:30 in the evening. Okay, so those nasty robots are going to come after me soon. And so I need to change my weapon. For those robots, the arc welder is ideal. So let me... I'm really glad I have my speed sigil. Okay, here is I think this is a safety area. So let me change my weapon. There. I could do it while I'm invisible. At least partially invisible. Okay. And let me put this away. Oh, no. No, come on. Oh, thank God, that's Mr. Robot, not Nasty Robot. Okay, the Nasty Robots are black and Mr. Robot is white. Mr. Robot is actually, so long as you don't break any rules, they're really nice. But the Nasty Robots are black, but they're also invisible until they come up and attack you. So you have to... let me show you what they look like. Let me get to a area where I think I know they're coming after me. Okay, so if I look over here, you see that? You see that? That's one of the invisible robots. And here, whoa! Oh, there's one right next to me. Whoa! There you are. Yeah, you see they go invisible, and but they're really susceptible to your arc welder. 3 hits and they go down. I think there's another one right there. Yeah, there's another one right there. Okay. Whoa, okay. Yeah, the shield is nice because you keep your shield up, and then they hit your shield, and then you realize, okay, there's one right near you. So, that was kind of scary. There was one right near me. Oh, let me do the area effect. Yeah, the arc welder is yeah, the arc welder is really nice because it has an area effect. So if you have a bunch of these coming after you, then you can shoot to the ground. There's another one. Oh, there's 2 more. Okay, let's wait until they come up. They're coming up here. There we go. Okay, let's run away. That's the way to do it. Run away. Yeah. So the arc welder is really useful for these guys. I mean, the javelin will work. I guess the surgical laser will work a little bit, but nothing works as well as the arc welder. Unfortunately, the arc welder does nothing to the Geist beasts, and so typically, unless it's 8:30 in the evening, I would always use the surgical laser now. There we go. Oh. Okay, so I think that's it. I think we killed them all. Oh, no, 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 no. There's one more. There's one more. There we go. You tricked me. Oh. Yeah, they carry a lot of good stuff. So, and initially there will only be one that comes out, but every consecutive day that you kill these, they add one more, and I think the maximum is like 7. And so yeah, they turned out to be really good. If your weapons are good and if you have a good shield, then you could actually farm them at 8:30 in the evening. But in the beginning, if you don't have any weapons, they will mutilate you. They are merciless. They come after you. They never stop following you, and they will come after you. They're like the Terminator, you know. And so be careful in the beginning. And if you have your cot, I would suggest that you sleep through until you have the arc welder. And once you have the arc welder, then it turns out to be pretty good. But until then, use your cot, sleep through the 8:30 evenings, wake up as... Oh, so this is a wall outlet. So here, you know, you use these things, these wall repair kits. And as you repair these walls, your efficiency of the building goes up. So you could run around, look for these broken wall outlets, and repair them. Is there another guy? No, I think I'm getting paranoid. I think I killed all the dark robots. Okay, so that gives you some idea of what you need to do in the beginning. You know, just run around. Don't spend a lot of time gawking and enjoying the area. Oh, yeah, that's one more thing. You see these flying robots? There's these flying robots, and then there's these walking robots. They're actually really useful. They don't help you in any way, but if you walk near a flying robot and a zombie sees you, it'll oftentimes attack the flying robot rather than you. And then you could sit back and just watch. And the flying robots carry some really good stuff. Sorry, I'm also looking for a walking robot. They look like those nasty robots, except they're white. And the walking robots are really good. If you see one, and if you haven't broken any... whoa. If you haven't broken any rules, like tripped any alarms when you were trying to open something, then they won't come after you. And the nice thing is if you're near a zombie, the security robots will oftentimes kill the zombie for you. And then you could sit back and use the robot to kill the zombies. And then you could, you know, scavenge the zombies. And that will get you a lot of... every once in a while, you get like 4 or 5 zombies attacking the robots. And the robots are pretty strong, so they'll oftentimes kill all 4 or 5 zombies. And then you could just scavenge like crazy. So if you see a white robot walking around, and if you haven't broken any rules, follow it around and see if the zombies will attack. Anyway, that's about it for this episode. Sorry it took so long, but there's a lot of things that you can do, so I just wanted to cover a few of these. There's a lot more things, but this is basically just a starter's guide. This will give you some idea of, you know, how to gather equipment, how to upgrade equipment, some of the equipment that you may need, what equipment works with, you know, what weapons works with certain enemies, what weapons do not work with certain enemies. And so hopefully this will help you out in learning some of the things that go on. Now, if you have any questions, yeah, just please post them in the comment section below. If I know what the answer is, I'll try to tell you. If not, there's other veteran players that often come visit here, and they may answer for you. But anyway, I hope this was useful. Thank you very much for watching. I'll continue on with more Pamela videos in the future, and I hope you join us at that time. But until then, yeah, happy starting of the game, happy exploring, happy surviving, happy crafting, and as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.